Nothing bad happened while I was offline, right? Man, I cannot wait for this postseason. If anyone tells me the postseason isn't going to go well, I will literally kill myself on camera.
All right, hey everybody, Celtics Roundtable. This is Matt Ignal here, joined by Sam Sheehan and Jared Weiss. Rough day.
Happy pod. Woo!
By now, you probably heard the news. Kyrie Irving out for the season, out for what? We'll be here 4 to 5 months. Do I have that right?
That's right.
With getting, I guess, another surgery to get those screws out of his knee. From my perspective, it could have been worse, but this is not what the Celtics want. Jared, do you want to walk us through what happened with this injury and what happened today?
Sure, the screws could have been in his brain, so this is definitely a better outcome.
Meningitis.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Well, it's a bacterial infection, but not that kind. So,
yeah.
Where do we begin? So Kyrie Irving was born. So Kyrie, when they traded for him, they were aware that he would probably need another minor procedure to do some sort of maintenance on his knee procedure from 2015. And so I'm assuming that they knew that he had a tension band on his knee where they wrapped like a wire around the patellar tendon and then pinned it through the patella so that they could tighten it up and it could fuse back together. This was done in June, I believe, 2015, after he had a stress fracture of his kneecap in the NBA Finals. We all know that. Tony Maserati, of all freaking people, we can curse on the show, right?
Yeah.
Of all people, it's just incredible. It's not just like because he's like a hot take guy on the radio, but then he was a baseball reporter and he's breaking like the biggest story of the year in the NBA practically. It's insane. And so he had that. There was discussion about whether Kyrie needed to have screws removed from his knee. It seemed like they determined that didn't really have to happen at this point when they did that tension band procedure, removal procedure on March 24th, where they just kind of like cut in through the incision on his knee, very minimally invasive, and pulled out the wire. But then 4 days later, they ran a pathology test on said wire and found that it was haunted. No, they found that it had a bacterial infection present on the wire, which they determined means that it's also in the screws that are in his knee, and therefore the screws need to come out so that the infection doesn't continue and they're able to cure it, because obviously bacterial infections are not really good for bodies in general, and especially in your knee joint if you are a basketball player. So it was kind of a no-brainer, I guess, at that point that they, according to, I think it was Adam Himmelsbach for the Boston Globe, had a pretty thorough report. He said that they tried to see a few different orthopedists and doctors to figure out if there was a way to treat this without just removing the screws, which requires, I don't know how the procedure will work exactly, but you're taking screws out of the knee. It's pretty obvious. I assume they're going to have to clean out tissue that's infected around the area. So that seems like a pretty significant surgery that obviously now comes with a 4 to 5 month layoff. So that's where we are. The good news is he's not dead, and they caught the infection before it became something more serious. And I mean, that's a really dangerous game to play. I mean, remembering back to what happened with Grant Hill, he ended up having a severe infection in his ankle back like around the early 2000s or so, where I think he actually said, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he said that he died on the operating table for a brief second. And I feel like that's wrong, and I'm going to Google that while I talk because I can't remember. Grant Hill dead as I talk. So they don't want that to happen. They gotta get out ahead of this. That's like the worst thing that could happen. It seems like they're going about this in the right way. Obviously, it's kind of scary. Just the idea of bacterial infection is really scary. It's not clear how long it's been going for. I doubt that it was the cause of all like kind of the occasional soreness that he's been dealing with over the last couple of years with this procedure. But it certainly seems that it was something that popped up at least in the last month or so when the soreness got to the point that he had to sit out. So it looks like that they feel that once they do this procedure and clean it out, that he probably should heal up and the infection is gone. They say that there's no structural damage. So this should be the end of this whole saga. And maybe, who knows, maybe he needs another cleanup procedure at some point or something like that, just to get rid of scar tissue or to clean the underside of his kneecap, which is something that apparently happens a lot with these kinds of procedures as a maintenance thing eventually. So maybe that's required to happen. But this should be hopefully the end of the saga for him, and he can heal up over the next half of a year, be ready for next season along with Gordon Hayward, and work himself back into shape and actually go back to being an MVP caliber player on a fully restocked team that actually is ready to compete for a title. To be concise.
Yeah. No, I think you hit on the main point there that like the knee is structurally sound, and hopefully this is the end of it. There was a scary 30 minutes there when I saw that the Celtics were exploring other medical options, and it wasn't clear what that was for a moment, but it was certainly good news that the knee is structurally sound. Thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was not as worried about everyone because luckily I was at work today and I was offline, so which is uncommon for me. You're normally extremely online, so I got to get most of the details when I was like checking in, and I don't know. It seemed to me like I did some of the circuits and like listened to some of like the podcasts that like the Ringer and some of these other media outlets had done as quick reactions, and they seem a little bit hysterical now in retrospect with kind of what we know now that. I don't know. I guess I'm just less worried about it. I believe the Celtics when they say that the knee is, structurally sound. They wouldn't specify that. This kind of the Celtics MO when there is something bad to just be more vague. The fact that they specified that kind of means to me that that it is, what it says. What they say it is. I think shutting him down and getting it right is probably the right call at this time. But because if you run through things like, the opportunity cost of Kyrie Irving coming out, outside of this being a particularly weak year for the East, there's really not much reason, for the Celtics to really push him to come back. I mean, they're going to have all of their big pieces back next year. The only, possible difference would be maybe Marcus Smart might not be back. I think if they really wanted Aaron Baines or Greg Monroe or maybe even both, they could get those guys back. And, just Al Horford being a year older. Aside from that, the Celtics seem set to improve. So really, they're not in the same situation as like an Oklahoma City Thunder where things absolutely need to go this year. So really nice that they can, kind of take things a little bit easier, especially, Gordon Hayward's injury making things a little easier on them to just, kind of pull the plug and not roll the dice.
I'm shocked to hear that there were immediate reaction podcasts that look ridiculous in the immediate aftermath.
Yeah, who knew?
It's one of the downside. I mean, obviously, they're reacting based on what is coming out, but the story has evolved so much just over the course of the day, which is why we're recording it at night once we seem to have just about all the information. And by the way, with Grant Hill, he had MRSA from his ankle surgery, and he said that he went into shock, which I don't remember if that is 100% if he means that literally or figuratively, but I think it's closer to literally.
I took a look at it. It said he convulsed, like he went into convulsions and had like 104.5 fever. So he was not doing well. Like it was like an ER episode. They were wheeling him to somewhere on a gurney.
Well, I'm glad he's okay, and I'm glad Kyrie does not have to deal with that because that is pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Are we expecting Kyrie to be back like all the way by training camp start of the season? Basically being, the old Kyrie, or is this might this have effects that like linger into the season?
I would assume that. So his timetable is 4 to 5 months. Usually, so 5 months will be basically, I guess, September. So right around the beginning of training camp, and that usually when guys are coming back from that timetable, they are pretty rusty for a little while. That their conditioning is usually not very good because there's your conditioning of preparing not in an NBA game, and then there's actually being in an NBA game, which is just a different level. So I find usually guys returning from injury, or at least like a half a year layoff, tend to need another month or so before they really get their conditioning up, and then also kind of get their skill level back. So like he's probably going to shoot like crap during the preseason, but he should have enough time to, by the time that the regular season starts next year in late October, he should be pretty close to rounding in the form.
Kyrie is hurt. We're not getting the 1 seed from Toronto. It's unlikely the Celtics, at least to me, I think it's pretty unlikely the Celtics get out of the second round. So let's just let it go. Yeah, I mean, am I wrong about that?
No, I totally agree that they're not the favorite in the second round anymore.
Yeah.
Even against Philly, I think if Philly's fully healthy and Embiid is back in rhythm, I would make Philly the favorite in that series.
Oh, huge, heavy favorite.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, Boston's been playing really well with Rozier, so if Rozier is back in form after this quick little injury scare, I would expect them to still be very competitive, but I wouldn't make them the favorite in any of those second round matchups.
Well, it's become a lot more fun. You know what I'm saying? Like it
is entertaining as hell.
This is like I don't know. I just feel like the weight of expectations has sort of been lifted off of this team. now, and you could say that about after the Hayward injury, but the Celtics kind of proved themselves with how well their young guys played. Now that this is like a Kobayashi Maru from like Star Trek, where like you put your young guys in charge of this no-win situation and you see what happens. And it's a training sim. It's about as good as you can get. Like, let's see if Jayson Tatum can tear like will the Celtics into some sort of improbable victory. I mean, if the Celtics lose in 5 to the Heat, like, which is possible, by the way, like, I don't know. I'm not freaking out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just this is what happened. I actually don't think that's what's going to happen either. But it's a lot more. It's a lot closer to a coin flip now that the Celtics might go down in the first round, depending on their matchup. I'd say.
Yeah, they're basically putting Jayson Tatum in the Brainalyzer 9000. He's going to be manifesting butts all over the place.
It's going to be incredible. There are so many pop culture references to make here. This is going to be, but he and Al are going to be Bush and Sundance, and it's like I cannot wait to see if they, only we get to see how the movie ends, I guess.
That's true. I mean, just the posting, the memeing of Jayson Tatum with the deer in the headlights look on the national stage is going to be so great. I can't wait for that. Incredible. He's probably going to average 20 a game and play his ass off, but like he's going to look like a baby deer in headlights all the time. I wonder if he is part deer sometimes, just because of the look he has on his face.
Well, it's just so long. Well, he's graceful and long, like a deer.
It's like an elephant.
Yeah, beautiful. Like there's a lot of comparisons to be made there. I worry that him kind of producing the way he has kind of outsized the expectations. It's one thing to be Point Tatum in like games down the stretch against the season where teams are kind of trying to hold it together. It's another when another team is scheming for you to handle the ball. And I think we saw it in that Toronto game, that, Tatum had a much rougher time, kind of handling the ball. And, as you said, Jared, we've reached a point where not having two-way players in the playoffs is going to really have an impact on the Celtics team. And if anybody gets hurt at all between Rozier and Larkin, suddenly there's a ball handling crisis on the floor.
Yeah. Real quick, we're all in need of a little love today. And so are you probably. So chances are, if you've tried online dating, you may have run
shots at the fans.
To our lonely fans.
Our fans out there who don't have anyone important.
That's right. You need to.
But you can find one now.
Yes, with eHarmony. Unlike all other dating sites, they take steps that other sites don't to find you a more compatible match. They helped over 1 million people find their perfect match. They use science, data, and psychological research. If you want to sign up for eHarmony with a 3-month subscription, you get a free month if you just use my code BostonCeltics at checkout. Stop waiting. Start your journey to a satisfied, meaningful relationship. It can be fun to play around with online dating apps, but when you're ready to fall in love with someone and have a meaningful relationship, eHarmony is there for you. Come see how it can change your life. Go to eHarmony.com and get started. Enter the code BostonCeltics at checkout. All right, real quick, I'm going to put you guys on the spot.
Actually, can I just say one thing here?
Yeah.
I like data, but if there's one kind of data I like, it's science data. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a huge science data fan.
Huge science data guy all the time.
Yeah.
Put me on the spot, Matt. Put me on the spot.
No, yeah. Nothing screams love like science and data. All right, on the spot. Best Kyrie Irving moment of the season.
It's 3 words. It's 3 words.
Yeah, it was just
come on. It's 3 words. Do I need to say them?
Yeah, no.
I need to say
you will. It started. The SMD Celtics were started in Philadelphia, and I think that's the Kyrie Irving legacy from this year.
Can we think of the second best Kyrie Irving? Can we end on like an actually positive note here?
Okay,
it's been rough.
I mean, I don't know. Like, there's just been so many times, that Kyrie Irving. I think my biggest thing that I'm going to remember. It's not a specific moment, but it is the fact that I don't think Isaiah Thomas gets enough credit for just how absolutely insane and ridiculous his season was last year and the things he did in the fourth quarter. And it is an enormous testament to Kyrie Irving that it seems like the Celtics really never lost that. You know what I'm saying? Just because of his own wizardry in the fourth quarter, of his own ability to kind of get fourth quarter scoring and just the ball handling I don't know. It's one thing to like watch him from perspective, but to see him like night in, night out, he really is like the best ball handler in the league, and I don't think it's even remotely close.
Yeah, and let's just say like so actual performances. 47 points against was at Dallas with the mask.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that was insane. I remember I was at I think it was my Thanksgiving dinner in Chicago, and I was getting yelled at by my family for watching on my phone, and I just had it tucked under the table just watching that game. And I'm like, am I really seeing this right now? I mean, that Warriors game was incredible.
Yeah,
that
going toe to toe with Steph,
incredible.
that was amazing. Yeah, I think he had 37.
I mean,
Didn't miss a three.
yeah. I mean, that was, and don't forget that was the game where he ripped the mask off too. I mean, I think that might be the high point of the season. Going the mask off and then pulling that one off. I mean, I would say that was probably the high point for him for the season.
Yeah, I would agree.
That and that Philly game.
Suck right. My delicious stuff.
All right,
the SMD Celtics, RIP.
Yep. That's all right.
Remember when they were the Flippin' and the Hood Celtics? I miss that team. They've gone through a lot of permutations this year. There should be an oral history of just all the different identities that they've had throughout the season.
The flexing Celtics.
Yeah. There have been a ton. Well, now Flask Dad Celtics are the most recent iteration, and I love them. The Flask Dad Celtics are incredible. That's like the funniest nickname for Marcus Morris I've ever heard. shout out to Hebert of Riffs, calling him the Flask Dad because he just operates like a dad who's drinking at a little league game and only there to fight is incredible. That's exactly Marcus Morris's energy these days.
Like, how many times does Marcus Morris call someone nephew a day? I mean, I feel like he just calls everybody nephew. I love Mook. I mean, the funny thing about Mook is he's like a pretty chill guy in person, but he just seems like a total animal on the court.
Yeah.
And it's funny how he was so absent from the first half of the year because of all the injuries, and he's clearly the identity of this team right now. I mean, this team is Mook's team right now, which is for better and very much for worse at the same time. But it's been mostly for better. I mean, he's been playing. He's probably had the best month of his career.
It really strikes me. I noticed this a lot. Whenever Mook hits a big shot, Jayson Tatum is really excited, and it's like very clear that like Jayson Tatum likes Marcus Morris and like maybe like looks up to him a little bit. So I enjoy that. That's like that they do have that sort of dynamic. Also, Marcus Morris is a legend for the ref tweet. Is the incredible. Sorry, I slapped the ref ass.
And then the other was it last night? He said, "Like I thought it was nice.
I thought it was a nice tweet.
It was nice. That was great.
I thought it was a nice tweet. Yeah.
And so on Tatum, so Mook has actually been Tatum's like mentor on the team. And they've been playing each other one-on-one after practice the entire season, where they just like post each other up. That's how their one-on-one is that the coach will just like drop in an entry pass for a post up, and they just take each other off the block. I've watched it a few times. It's really entertaining. I was actually keeping tabs of the record for a while, and then Morris was out for so long, and then Tatum was hurt for a little. I couldn't keep up with it. But at the end of November, I think Tatum had a 3-1 lead. So they also have practiced like 5 times this season too. So there's not that many opportunities. But that's a great relationship because that's like big ball swinging Marcus Morris. Like,
he's so memeable. What Lucky's Pipe has done this year with Marcus Morris memes.
But like sweet baby doll Jayson Tatum is like his like partner. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing though, is because I've like said before that, we've kind of juxtaposed, with the charity work and stuff like that, we've kind of placed our own idea of like who Jayson Tatum is onto him, that he's like this good little lad who's like always doing the best thing. Like, yeah, but like he is. You watch his body language, like when he scores sometimes, and there is like a definite swagger that might not totally be there yet because he's a rookie and he's kind of minding himself. But it's coming. Fully expect him. Yes, his 4th year in the league, he's going to be like just absolutely berating Kevin Love on the court, and I'm like, and Marcus Morris is the absolute perfect like mentor for that.
Yeah.
And for on a more mechanical level too, Marcus Morris already kind of plays like Carmelo Anthony, like to a certain extent, for better or for worse. And that was kind of Jayson Tatum's comp was better defending, hopefully better defending Carmelo Anthony. And I think that it is good to have a vet like Mook if Jayson Tatum plays like Mook plays, it's different from Marcus Morris playing the way that Marcus Morris plays. I think that's a good thing. So I appreciate Mook, sort of taking the young guy under his wing.
You've come around on him, Sam.
I'm a huge Mook fan now. I'm the Mook box hero on Twitter, so I can't.
All right. On that note, we'll wrap things up here. I want to thank Sam Sheehan and Jared Weiss for coming on. Quickly, guys, plug your stuff.
Jared, go ahead.
I guess find me on Twitter, Jared Weiss NBA.
Nice.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
I'm currently writing something about the Kyrie Irving situation. I'm hoping it'll be up today when all of you are watching this on Friday. So go over to Celtics Hub. I'll post a link at Sam Sheehan.
All right.
Great.
And I'm working on nothing. So
Danganronpa V3.
That's right. That's what I'm working on.
All
right. Yeah. So we'll be back start of next week as we look ahead to the playoffs, and we'll see you then.